stand for the pledge of the flag. Please be.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Duff.
Here.
Germini.
Here.
Claiborne. Here. Kuznicki.
Here.
Human.
Here.
All right, any additions to business? I believe we do.
No additions to business tonight. Mr. President, I would just indicate Jennifer Orlowski isn't here tonight. I got a phone call from her late this afternoon. I think council's aware that she's had some medical issues. She's had some surgical procedures. She called me late this afternoon. She's had some other complications. She just found out about it today, and she's not able to be here today. So.
I wish her well. Okay, speedy recovery.
Yeah, I will pass the message along.
Number 5, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Correspondences and information, we have quite a few, actually. We have 3 from DTE, notice of hearings. So information is there. Michigan Municipal League, their annual meeting notice, and that's in Grand Rapids, September 17th through the 19th. And we have Mel's Truly Clean. That's partnering or teaming up with Maven Commercial Cleaning. And then we have Bobasso right-of-way memo. Right there. The DirecTV, their annual video report is out. And then the Open Community Health Network, their recovery and suicide prevention month. Then the Southeast Council, Michigan Council of Governments, their year in review.
Motion to receive and file as presented.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second by O'Brien.
I'd like to pull the Rubasso right-of-way complaint
Okay.
for discussion.
I'll amend my motion. Amend the second.
Yep.
Okay, so we have the amended motion, amended second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now let's first call the public. It's an opportunity for citizens to address council on agenda items. We have a motion open?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're open.
Hey, labor 2335, can you open C, receiving or fired all the reports? We used to keep them in the door, like the police department.
So we can hear you.
Okay, so the police report, we used to get it every month when we had meetings. It was at the door. Do we have to do a FOIA in order to get those now? Any of these reports?
You're talking about 8C?
Pardon me?
Talking about agenda item 8C?
C4.
Yeah.
8C4. 8C4, yeah.
It's on our website.
Yeah.
You know, you might have it online, but I can't find it. But we used to keep it over here. So people would grab it every monthly meeting. Of course, we had a lot more people then.
Where on the website is it exactly?
It's
It's under
under the
documents.
council page. It's in the council
So if you go to
packets.
council, if you go to the webpage and you go to council, it says council meeting minutes, you click on that. And from there, you go to council and there's agenda, minutes, council packets, and special information. And then you go under council packets and it will have the council packet with everything that we see on there. And that's posted on the Friday before the council meeting. So you get it, so it's available to the public at the same time that council is able to see it.
So the bottom line is where can we find them?
On the website,
Where?
on the village website,
They're on the website?
yes.
Okay,
Under a section
what
called-
part of it?
Under
If
the
you
council
want-
section.
If you want to come into the office, we can show you and write down the instructions so that you can get to it real easily every month.
All right.
But it's read it, but we'll be happy to show it.
That's fine. I appreciate it.
Tom Daly, 2377 Ventura. I'm here to talk about item 12B. Rather than bore you with an update or rehashing everything that we've talked about over the last 8 months, I just want to I want to make sure that you guys received the information that I sent 2 weeks ago. That information, in addition to the design information that I provided on the public right-of-way that showed that 60% of it was already being used as private driveway. The 60% in front of mine is 60% of it's being used for private driveway for another driveway. And also that the geometry limits me backing up out of the center of my property, actually my driveway, and my property, right, is limited to 12 feet, which is less than half of, or less than the 16 feet that it takes for a compact vehicle. Those are some of the dimensional details that I've provided over the last 8 months, and I hope you guys still have all that information. But the information that I sent you guys 2 weeks ago showed the aerial photographs of the properties of the people that had concerns with what was going on down in that area and had voiced opinions. While they didn't really know what was going on in the area, you can see clearly on those that each one of those residents has 20 to 25 feet of continuously paved street in front of their houses. So that's more than their already wider driveways than what I have, and all the way across their entire residence. It's paved 20 to 25 feet out across the street. So I can understand why they don't have problems entering and exiting, right? Not to mention that my property or that property is being restricted also by the fact that the driveway is actually, from a geometrical standpoint, sitting out 12 feet, more than halfway out. It goes from 2 to 12 feet halfway out. So I also, actually, on those aerial photographs that I did other village residences, including your own, right? And it shows also that in no cases in any of your properties do you have less than 20 to 25 feet out in front of your property. In my case, right now what exists is not even close to that, right? It's not consistent with it, it's not even close, okay? So the TIA proposal that was recommended basically does nothing more. It simply puts that area out for me to use, just like everybody else that's saying everything's okay. It's putting that area out just to the same point as what you guys have. So what I'm requesting, what the TIA has actually recommended, is nothing different than what everybody else in the village already has. So I guess my question, I've already asked a million questions and I'm still waiting for those to be answered. But my question is why doesn't the property at 2377 have a similar usage of the public property in front of its area, right? The hammerhead design that was used, and it was provided by dedication in the 1950s and in 1995 when I bought it, right, was all open. It provided for that ability and that capability. The problems with all the parking in that area have only started after the implementation of the redesign that took place in 2014. The other question I have is, I'm really looking for somebody to tell me when this issue is going to be resolved. We're at about 8 months on this go-around, right? And it doesn't seem like we're making a whole lot of progress. We've done a bunch of things, which I can understand from your perspectives that you want to understand, but we're getting pretty long. I mean, the process that took place to approve putting that driveway in was less than a month, and it was done by village personnel with almost no information. I've provided tons of information on what's going on there, and we're at least 8 months now on this part of the cycle. So I'm asking, again, for you guys to begin the implementation of that TIA recommendation to pave the right-of-way to the private property lines in the area. It's the only action that's going to ensure that public property can be utilized by all the private properties that require it. This is why that public property was designed as a hammerhead and dedicated in that manner 7 years ago, was to provide for the same things that you guys all have in front of your properties, right? Why it was allowed to be developed otherwise, right? I don't know. It doesn't support open public use of the area, and it continues to create issues with proper usage. Thank you.
Somebody else with the first call?
Motion closed?
Got a motion to close, left second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, second call is closed. First call's closed. Number 8, consideration approving the following consent agenda.
Motion to approve as presented?
Second?
There's a correction. It's very, very, very minor. But on the minutes, at the very last page, it says our meeting starts at 9. It should be 7. Very much.
I will amend my motion.
Amend my second?
We have amended motion and amended second. Have a roll call, please.
Newman?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes. Kuznicki?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes. No board appointments today.
Correct.
These presentations are police service awards.
Want to handle these with me?
Oh, sure. Wait till you say your stuff.
Council, we have 2 service awards to present tonight. We're going to head out to the podium. First, in the order that they appear on the agenda tonight, the first award is for Officer Jessica Keller for 5 years of dedicated service. Jessica is kind of the, don't take this the wrong way, you're kind of the mother around
Thank
the
you.
police
That's
station.
okay, I'll
Kind of
take it.
keep an eye on it.
I'm good with it.
It's been a rough year for you personally.
Yeah.
And I'm really very proud of the way that you carried through and worked through the issues.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
And
it.
again, we're very happy to have you here working with Princeton Village.
Thank you, Mr. Lucky.
Mr. President, if you want to.
Sorry, I can't see. There was only, speaking of even.
So it's a certificate of appreciation that those awards presented. Officer Keller.
Can we get a picture?
Grateful appreciation for the 5 years of dedicated service to the village and its residents. Police Department.
Appreciate it, yeah. Thank you. Hold on. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Might as well stay there. Could we get Brian?
Oh, okay.
Just hold that thought, yep. Hold that thought. The second award we have tonight is actually a plaque, hard to believe, but 10 years that Brian Dennis has been with the Wolverine Lake Police Department. Brian, in case anybody didn't know, retired from the Inkster Police Department before he came here. 25 years?
No, 20. 20, my 20th year.
20 was enough, okay.
No, they offered that. It was the early out. 7 of us took it.
Okay. And I first met Brian because there was a period of time when he used to be on midnights. And I would be walking my dog over on Oak Island, and he would stop and just kind of check to see what we were doing over there. Once he was satisfied that we weren't causing trouble, then I got to talk to Brian a little bit. Got to know him a little bit, and I came to work for the village, and lo and behold, here he is now, he's working days.
Yes.
But he brings a lot to the table here in terms of his knowledge and his experience. We're very happy to have him working for us here at Wolverine Lake.
Thank you.
10 and 10 more. That's what it says.
Oh,
No.
I missed that part.
Recognize 10 years of dedicated service.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
B, the 2025 Tiki Candle Financial Report.
Well, it was a very successful year in selling candles. As you guys all know, I mean, we don't purchase and sell the candles to make money. We buy the candles as a service for everybody in the village to encourage people to light up the lake. Whether they purchase the tiki candles, they use their own candles, their own torches, whatever. That's the reason for it. And this year we sold out. So typically, you're talking to anybody that's sold the candles. The last 2 days are the craziest days. And everybody just realizes that, oh, forgot to buy my candles for the party. They're planning their parties and their drinks and their food and who they're inviting and stuff, and all of a sudden it dawns on them on the candles. So we did run out. So it's a little early now, but I'm thinking that the council just, back of their mind, maybe adding a case or two more than I purchased last year. I mean, there's only 24 in the case, so it's not like there are hundreds of tiki candles sitting around, you know, so anyway, so we did very well, and a big thank you to everybody who helped, and we'll look forward to again next year. I did send an email to English Gardens asking if there was anything else he might have other than the candles, because every year they keep going up in price. But I did not have one person complain on the price to me this year. I don't know if anybody else did that was selling them, in the office. Anybody said anything? I mean, we took a bath on them. Actually, we sold them for less than what we paid them for. So anyway, so that's it. Thank you, everybody, for...
Thank you for doing that, Pam.
Yeah.
Recommendations, Mike Powell.
Thank you, Council. Just wanted to briefly bring you up to date on the last paving program that we did, and the paving was finished last year, but there were a number of items that we picked up this spring that Hutch had to perform on and to correct. The last one was done about a month ago now, and I met the owner of the company, Hutch, and a small crew out there, and they took care of a spot on Wabasso that was holding some water, and they brought a torch out and modified it, and it now runs down into the ditch line there on Wabasso. That was the last of the punch list items, and so they have now been paid off for their extras and the amount that we had retained, so that project is totally complete, and unless council had any other issues, I think that is a project that completed extremely well. All right, hearing none, the next item is the Clara Miller Park Cycle Challenge area, and I see you have a little drawing of my big drawing that I have up here on the board. The gray area, of course, is what was installed, and the gray area was done by my staff through really search on the internet, and then that drawing was given to the president of the BMX Association here in Michigan. He reviewed it, and he confirmed that that was a great track for a neighborhood track. Unfortunately, he's an adult, and most of his riders are of the older teenage years and young men and young women. And we had a call from a contractor, an earthwork contractor, whose son and the other kids use this path all the time. And he came out and watched his son and watched the other kids, and there were some issues that they wanted to have the village identify, know about, and that was this drop-off area. This is the starting area that we had designed. That starting area comes down and hits a series of loops and wows coming up this area, and they said that this distance between this drop-off or this high area and the little rolling spots was too far, and the kids weren't going fast enough to be able to go through these properly, and it took too much effort for them to, they couldn't get their bikes going fast enough. So they've asked to allow them, he's a contractor, to do two things to the existing BMX track. He would very much like to raise the elevation of this starting point up another 5 feet so they get a good shot down from the starting track, from the starting blocks. And then they'd like to move this first hill, instead of having this distance, they'd like to move it off to the east a little bit and closer to where the ramp is, so that they can hit this. You can understand the kids. They could hit that at a faster rate and get more air coming up over this this first hill. Modify the location of all of this. Just pull it over to the east, tighten up this curve, and then the rest of the track is fine. And then when they come through this area, they're going so slowly they can't get fast enough to come up on this high mound again, and they're hitting it on an angle. So they asked if we pull this over, not only can they continue to loop, they don't have to get up on the starting blocks anymore. And the contractor's asking at his cost, will the village allow him to modify this BMX track from what it is now and pull these improvements over to the east a little bit between the power pole and this tree to make it easier on the kids to be able to utilize the track. I'm certainly far from being an expert, and I don't think I could get around the track even if I tried. But the kids, it was fun watching the kids explain why this would be better than the way it's built right now. The contractor claims he has the dozers, the equipment, everything that he needs to do it. He'll do it for free. He'll provide the village the insurance as necessary. He wants to allow the village to allow him to use some of the spoils from our ditch cleaning program that are over in the park over here to help raise this platform up a little bit. But he'd like permission to be able to modify this track this way. I certainly don't have any pride of authorship. The kids, I think, they made their case that this would be better for them. But Mr. Gillum and I didn't feel that we had the authority to actually authorize this at the village park, and so we wanted to bring it to you for discussion.
Does it help or hinder any of the trees? You know, there's been some question as to the tree roots and stuff.
It does not, and I did have a landscape architect come out and actually identify that in his professional opinion, there's no problem with the trees as it's built now. This actually moves this track further away from these trees along this side. It does get it a little closer to that one, but this is a down area, and this hill would be past where those roots are in that tree. We see no problem with the way it's built now, nor when it gets moved.
Would there have to be new surveying done for the shift, or is it insignificant enough that?
No, they believe that they can do this. What he intends on doing is getting it close to the way his expert, which is his son, would like to see it, and then allow the kids to play on it a little bit and try it out, and then tweak it as they ride around it. So there's no more additional work for a surveyor or myself to get involved. May be an issue, and this contractor said he'd be willing to assist in sloping the side slopes down on some of those mounds to allow us to do some plantings along the sides. That hasn't been totally resolved yet, but he's willing to do the grading to allow for seed to take hold around the high areas to modify the slopes coming down from the high areas.
Yeah, what Mike is talking about, the way the track is designed with the elevations and the grades that we have right now, the DPW isn't able to use any of their mowers on the sides. So if they're going to do any trimming out there, it's mostly weeds that are growing on the sides of the track now, but if they're going to do any trimming out there, they have to weed whip it. And that takes a lot of time to do that amount of area. So we've had some discussion. We'll need to have some additional discussion internally. I talked a little bit more with Andy Stone about it the other day, but the idea of using some some of the excess dirt that we have across the street to kind of taper the sides, which would potentially allow maybe for some hydro seeding or something like that. And with the softened grades, then the DPW would be able to get their zero-turn mowers on. They wouldn't have to worry about doing all the weed whipping, so.
I'll make a motion that we allow the modifications to take place, providing that the contractor provides the necessary insurances to the village before commencing.
Second.
All right, motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion?
Did the contractor mention how long he thought the project would take if we gave him the green light?
Yeah, he thought that once he got started, in a couple days, he'd have it done.
Do you know how old his boys are?
12, wasn't his expert 12 years old?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
11, 12, 13, somewhere right
Yeah.
in that area.
Right in that area.
Yeah, flexible enough that he falls off his bike, he'll be able to jump right back up, so, yeah.
Once he's done, Mike, there's a chance you can make us a special trip out there, re-inspect it, and be like, yep, that's exactly what we're looking like, it's all safe, and
I can absolutely do
give us
that.
a thumbs up.
Absolutely. I almost think that you ought to just take your bike out there and try it out.
Oh, we like it, but they make it better.
Yeah, and with the increase in the elevation on the starting hill, if you will, there may be some additional tree trimming that'll have to be done too, to make sure that we have adequate clearance. But, yeah, we can take care of all that.
So that extra elevation is good for 12 and older. Will it be, a detriment to maybe some younger riders?
I don't think so. There were some younger riders out there as well, and they had no problem going down what's there now, so I don't think so. Maybe the older people like me, I'd actually be applying my brake going down the hill, but they'll be pedaling down the hill to even get going faster.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion to let the gentleman make the modifications, and we have a second on it, so it's roll call.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kuznicki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Duff?
Yep.
Newman?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes.
Dave, you want to lead off on this next one, or would you like me to start?
Well, Mike, you've got the memo in the packet, so I'll let you kick this
All
one
right.
off, so.
Hopefully, all of you have the memo and have read the memo. There was a video done by someone, and I don't know exactly who it was, identifying that there was some cracking on the pickleball courts, that the way it was presented, it was like people were going to fall, stumble, trip into the cracks, and it made a major impediment to playing on the pickleball courts. I went out and I think it was an exaggerated video that was done. We had a meeting out there with the contractors, both the paving contractor and the surfacing contractor, and they reminded us that asphalt and concrete all crack. You just can't even stop it from cracking. The advantage of concrete is you can control where the cracking goes if you engineer it correctly. Asphalt, it just cracks where it wants to crack. In this particular case, it was anticipated that where the new asphalt, where we repaired the great big cracks that were in the sports courts, where the new asphalt met the existing asphalt, at that spot, it was a plane of weakness, and there'd be a little hairline crack where that occurs. And that's exactly what's happened. And when we went out and looked at it, and Mr. Gillum was out there as well, we interviewed the people playing it. They absolutely had no problem at all. They didn't even, quite frankly, I don't think they even noticed the cracking. They said it didn't change that. They just thanked us very much that we had the sports courts or the pickleball courts there. In talking with the sports court, well, let me back up a little bit. If council remembers, the estimated cost to totally replace all the asphalt on the sports courts, the actual quote was ranged between $332,000 and $214,000
$214,000 was the cheapest price to be able to replace the courts with new asphalt. That being said, and I pointed out in this report that even if we had redone everything, asphalt cracks. And you've seen the brand-new pavement that we put down on roads. They crack, you can't determine where they're going to crack, and therefore you just have to deal with the cracking. On the roads, it's one thing because we have a crack sealing program. You can't do that on asphalt because, or on the sports courts. That type of crack sealing would create a slippery area for tennis players or for people with tennis shoes on hitting hot tar and sliding on it on a hot day. The way they would repair these small little cracks that are there now, it's a poly tape that comes 8 to 10 inches wide. They tar that down, and then they spread a tar over top of it, a special asphalt tar, and then they have to repaint and reestablish the lines. And you can see I've kind of quoted their price to be able to do exactly that. One of the residents said that they actually sent a video of somebody doing that and said, why can't you do this to fix these cracks? And if you just had one court and it was a private court or a professional court, you can see the prices there. I think it was $100,000 just to put this special crack repair over top of just the pickleball courts. The contractors didn't believe that was the most efficient way to do it, that we should just live with the cracking that's there, knowing that if you resurfaced just where the cracks are and then repainted, you'd see that change in color, because you'll never be able to match the same color that's on the courts right now, because the color is faded even if you had the same lye dot or dot lye dot. Anyway, bottom line is, I wanted to make sure that council remembered what the history was in repairing the courts, that we expected the cracking. We were very pleased with the response from the 3 courts that were being used while we were out there, and I pointed out that they were just thrilled with the courts. They thanked us for it, but they wanted us to correct the ball from going under their balls from when they're not so good. When they miss the ball, it goes under the net, under the fencing there at the gates, and that was their biggest complaint. Which if I were you, I'd be really happy if that's the biggest complaint. So we wanted to bring it to your attention to find out what you'd like to do. I'm just personally not in favor of necessarily spending money on a 16th-inch crack that meanders through the courts. I did point out that White Lake Township is getting a price has a price to put new pickleball courts, build 2 new pickleball courts in Stanley Park in White Lake Township. The quote has been over $100,000 per court to do a concrete court, and it's post-tensioned, which means they put wires through the concrete with big threaded rods out each end, and then you tighten it together, so you kind of hold that concrete together, and it doesn't stop the cracking, but then you design where you want those cracks to occur, and you actually fill those spots as the cracking occurs, but they'd be straight cracks. But we'd be spending $100 to build 2 courts, over $200,000 just to build 2 courts. Not sure that I'm going to be in favor of that, but that's White Lake Township, but I wanted to bring that quote to you as well. So this is here for discussion and for me to answer any questions if I can.
I think we have to remember where we were a couple of years ago. If you remember, number one, we didn't have any pickleball courts at all. We had the tennis courts, and the tennis courts were basically unplayable. Part of the tennis courts, one of the courts had heaved. They had huge cracks down the middle of them. We had smaller cracks, but still cracks in the basketball court. We had some cracks in the hockey rink as well. The DPW looked at a number of different alternatives, ways to try to plug and fill and repair the cracks on those courts, particularly the tennis courts, and nothing would really work. So that's what led us to think about potentially redoing the courts in their entirety. As Mike had said, one option would be to, in some way, to do them in concrete. That would probably be the most durable surface, but it is obviously by far the most expensive too. And we didn't even look at the option of doing concrete.
No.
Because we knew it would be off the charts in terms of price. So again, that's where we started with the idea of actually coming in and grinding down and replacing the courts, the asphalt, with asphalt in their entirety. And then in looking at those prices, relative to other alternatives, that's when we learned of the idea of coming in and milling out that 3-foot section around the worst cracks and then filling that in and then capping the entire surface. That was the recommendation that we brought to council. That's what council agreed at the time. Rather than replace the entire courts when probably 80 to 90% of the courts were still in decent shape. So that's what led us to where we're at now. Again, as Mike has indicated, we expected that there would be some cracks. Personally, I'd hoped that maybe the cracks wouldn't develop as quickly as they have, but they have. I think from what I'm hearing and what I'm learning, that's just kind of the nature of the beast. You are going to have cracks. So again, I think we have to remember where we were as opposed to where we are right now. The courts are all very playable. They're used quite a bit. The pickleball courts, every time I drive by, somebody's playing pickleball all hours of the day and night. There was one day, a couple weeks, one of the weekend days, when it was like 95 degrees outside and the pickleball courts were packed. When I drove by, I couldn't believe people were still playing, but they were. So my personal opinion, my recommendation to you would be, rather than think about the costly repairs that Mike has outlined here in terms of the poly tape or this poly coating that would go over the tape, if we really wanted to go all out on that, I think at this point we're better off spending some money on doing some minor things down there that I think will answer the complaints that we've gotten from the residents so far. That is, as Mike said, when we were out there with the contractors that day, the gates between the pickleball court and one of the basketball courts, the pipe, the bar at the bottom of the gate, I think it's down as far as it can be, but there was still enough room between the surface of the courts and the bottom of the bar for the ball to roll underneath. So every time the ball rolled underneath, they'd have to stop the game, come over, open the gate, someone would have to go run it down. So we can address something like that. We've talked before about the idea of there's some 4-foot fence on the south side of the pickleball courts, about possibly replacing the 4-foot fence with an 8-foot fence. So number one, the ball won't go over the fence quite as often. And there are some people that have expressed concerns about going back to the fence to play a ball and then either running into the bar on the top of the fence or, God forbid, if they were going fast enough, actually flip-flopping over the top. So we could raise the fencing up to 8 foot to take care of that. We've had some residents that have asked that we put windscreens up, like they have over at the Richardson Center. I'm not a pickleball player, but I guess what I've been told is if the wind's blowing a lot, it can affect play. To possibly put some benches, something other than picnic tables that we drag over from around the pavilion, someplace for people to sit. Maybe to put up some kind of shade for people who are waiting on a hot day. They don't have to sit in the sun. Again, for my 2 cents, I think our money is better spent fine-tuning what we have rather than throwing a lot more money into further repairs to try to eliminate the cracking problem. Because from what I've seen and what I have heard, the cracks that are out there don't affect the quality of play. This is a real asset. It's, again, a huge improvement over where we were a couple years ago, and I think we should be talking about tweaks instead of major redos, in my opinion.
Dave, I agree with you 1,000%. If there's no problem with playability with the court, and really all we're trying to do is improve the appearance, and if you try to fix those cracks, it's probably going to make the appearance worse. So you're really not going to gain anything. In fact, you may lose. So I agree with spending money where we can get a bigger bang for it.
And none of these fixes, there's no guarantee that it'll eliminate all the cracking either.
That's correct. We did get a quote from, before we even started any of this, we got a quote from a surfacing company, a sports surfacing company in Lansing. They wanted to come out and for $30,000 repair the cracks, and they said, oh, by the way, they will reappear next spring. So they were talking about spending $30,000 every year to do it for the playing time, but then the next year you'd have to do it again. And that didn't go over well with any of us either.
I thought, maybe my memory's not all there, but that special, we had that special coating put on top that kind of mitigate a lot of the cracks.
We actually went a step further than that, right where we thought the cracking would occur. We ground that down a little bit, and then they did put some special hand-troweled grout in that area, smooth it all out in hopes of just keeping the cracking to just a small little area, and that did occur. We were hoping that, as Dave said, that we could put off any cracking for a couple of years doing it that way, but it didn't happen. We have those fine cracks. If we hadn't have done that, I think the crackings would have been even worse and a little bit more uneven. So that leveled off the area between the new asphalt and the existing asphalt. So we did get our money's worth out of that.
Is there anything that can be done in wintertime to like some kind of fabric or material that could be put on it for winterization to just keep the color and all that? Because winter is going to be really hard on the courts, I would imagine.
I don't know if I didn't even ask whether or not the color coating that's on there, which is an acrylic, whether it fades. I didn't even ask that question. But nothing over the courts would stop the cracking that's occurred because it's a change in volume of the material based upon its temperature. And the new asphalt contracts and expands at a little different rate than the old asphalt did. And so, therefore, it wouldn't help with that. And we're not getting any deflection because of frost heave at all. This is just in the areas where the pavement butts against each other. I don't know the answer to that. Nobody even mentioned them fading over the years, so I don't know if they do that. I don't know if schools do that. I don't think the schools do anything about covering them at all either. Good question. I don't know the answer to it.
I guess the question I would have is, I mean, if you did get a sunny day in the middle of the winter and the courts are covered, does that mean that maybe somebody would want to get out and hit a ball around? And if the courts are covered, maybe they couldn't, so.
When the contractor walked the courts with you, did they stand by the quality of their work? They were pleased with? They
did. They were very, very pleased that the cracking that we saw was exactly what they had anticipated when we walked it last fall. Because the cracks actually started showing up late last fall when the temperatures cooled down, and that's when we walked it. And they said, yeah, we would expect that just this way. And we were hoping that it would not get any worse, and quite frankly, it really didn't get much worse than it was even last fall.
I disagree completely. On October 10th, I went out there and looked at the cracks that were already appearing after just a few weeks of the project. They were small, but they were there.
Right.
Now they're everywhere. Parts of the courts are chipping. The surface is coming off in some of the areas. It's minor right now, but my suspicion is it's going to just get worse and worse, and by next year, I don't know what it's going to look like after another frost, freeze, winter, and the chaos that brings us. I don't think, as a council, it was properly explained to us that we were going to have cracking of this significance with this approach that we took. I frankly think it was overpromised and kind of an under-delivered project in terms of how it came out. I'm happier than I was with the old courts, of course, no question. But we did spend a significant amount of money. We spent the extra $11,000 on that acrylic for those spots where all the joints were put in, or replacements. But there's cracks along every single joint on the basketball courts, hockey courts, pickleball, and the tennis courts. And I think that in the winters, when they open up a little more, like they did this past one, if we get an event where we get a big thaw and then water gets in there and then we freeze again, those cracks might not shrink back up when we warm up again. They might stay wider, and then we're back to where we were a few years ago. I wouldn't want to spend any of this money on this poly tape or anything like that. I frankly I don't have a lot of confidence in this company and the work that they did, because I'm not as impressed with it as they are, frankly.
What was the life expectancy for these courts? I wasn't on council when it was presented. Was there a timeline?
Well, the existing courts have been there for 35, 40 years. So does that mean that there'll be no maintenance at all on asphalt on the courts? No, that doesn't mean that. But the courts were usable up to the last couple of years, where those cracks got to be a full inch or more wide. We do not anticipate them being that wide ever again, because we've kind of put a patch into the area where those cracks appeared before. You'll end up with those little cracks, and I've not noticed them getting any bigger this summer at all. I would expect them to get a little bit bigger, as Mr. Duff pointed out, that in the wintertime, when the asphalt shrinks a little bit, those cracks might get a little bit larger. It is put in two lifts, however. So there's a structural lift below, and then there's a surface lift up top, so that crack doesn't go all the way down through, so you're not going to get water intrusion all the way through the asphalt. I can't predict what's going to happen. I didn't see any chipping. I apologize, and so I believe that they would stand by their chipping. They absolutely expected the cracks, but the chipping, I didn't see any. So if you'd like to point them out to me, or even have the contractor come out and you point them out to the contractor, I believe they'd probably stand behind. If there's chipping that is actually going to degrade the playing surface, I think that they would stand behind it.
There definitely is. I mean, especially on the hockey rink and things like that, it's where it's most noticeable, but basketball courts have it too. Some of those spots where they've cracked, they've spidered a little bit in the webbing, and they've just started to come up.
Would you be willing to meet the contractor out there?
Of course.
Can you arrange for that?
I can absolutely arrange that. Absolutely.
I haven't been, and I think after tonight, I'm going to walk up and look at the courts of Richardson. Has anybody seen those courts?
They have cracking as well.
Do they?
They don't have as many as we have, because they replaced all their asphalt, and their courts obviously cost a great deal more than the villages did, but they have some cracking as well.
I was talking to some hockey players yesterday, today's Wednesday. One thing they did have a frustration with was they said the fences were installed backwards, so that the bars at the bottom, so when they're trying to deflect the puck or the ball off the wall, it just sometimes bounces right back to them because the bar is there instead of a flat surface.
In our discussion with the main hockey players, they were going to put a base all the way around it to have that bounce off, and they never did that.
Right, so.
Right.
So you're willing to meet the contractor, you're willing to set it up?
I can easily set that up.
So you guys can contact each other?
Maybe the administration can schedule Mr. Duff, Councilman Duff. Jeremy, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mark. With the contractor and myself, and even David, and we can walk it.
To go out too.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. This to number 11, public hearings. We have none. So it's 12, new business. The Parks and Rec Board recommendations. Looks like there's a request to release $1,500 for the fishing contest.
Motion to release $1,500 for the fishing contest from budgeted funds.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion? Roll call.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Knut?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Kuznicki?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes.
And the second one is request for releasing $10,000 for the corn roast.
Motion to release $10,000 from budgeted funds for the corn roast.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremy. Okay. Discussion on that. Roll call, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes. Duff?
Yes.
Kuznicki?
Yes.
Leads us to B, our Ventura Drive parking concerns.
Council had asked that this matter be pulled off of pending business and brought up as a matter of new business at last month's meeting. There was also discussion at last month's meeting about the possibility of expanding the cross-hatching on the west side of the cul-de-sac, or the road end. Mr. Powell was not at the meeting, but I relayed the information to him, and based upon the information I provided to him, he put together a sketch which is included in your packet tonight. Mike, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, or any comments you want to make about the drawing you provided or not?
It is just a means of allowing for an area designated as no parking further back off of the actual road paving area to minimize any potential impact between the driveways, traffic interference between the driveways. This way, there would be no parking out towards the roadway on any of those two driveways. It was represented at the last meeting that the property owner there at 2373 probably would not be having any more than a couple cars, and they used to have 5 cars there. So as they were parking in their driveway, it backed it out into the road. The fact that the kids have left probably will never have a problem there again, but this would be a stopgap to allow for everyone to be put on notice that they need to pull up further in their driveway so they don't block the adjacent driveways. That certainly doesn't mean that if you had a party, the police might have to pay a visit, but otherwise the day-to-day operation would be corrected probably.
Wouldn't more markings just be redundant? I mean, when you have no part, you have the markings already there. So in those areas, whether it goes further towards driveways, houses, whatever, it's still no parking. It's already marked no parking, so it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, the intent would be to
put more there.
Yeah, the intent would be to hopefully keep the tail end of cars from extending over into the traffic pattern, entering and exiting those two driveways.
Well, I think the question then is because, yeah, where you're saying the painting's done currently, but one could dispute if it's on the other side, it's their driveway, even if it's village pavement, but if it's well-defined that that is in fact painted there, there is no dispute. Even if you're hanging over by 6 inches, know better, don't do it because our police, if called, will respond. And that will at least then create that, another barrier and another message to respect that no parking zone in that space specifically.
And so that will go from, extended not only on the asphalt, but onto some paved areas then too, correct? Is what,
I believe I proposed to stop short of the actual concrete and stay in the asphalt paved areas of the roadway that the village actually installed, and not get into the concrete section of the existing drive there at 2373.
or the neighboring property?
There is no delineation. There's not a clean delineation at 2377 because that's all asphalt, that driveway.
Yeah.
There is a gravel area between the two drives, between 2373 and 2377, and this, extending the paving lines would get the no parking zone back to the west of where that gravel delineation is between the two driveways. So it would hopefully delineate the traffic patterns a little bit better.
I've walked out there, I've driven out there, I've looked at the overheads so many times, I've read every note and email that's been sent to us, and I've looked at it very closely, and I don't think that, in terms of the TIA recommendations or possibilities of tearing it out and paving over all that, I don't believe it'll actually solve the issue. I think this is a byproduct of people just not respecting the laws, and then additionally, there being a dispute between neighbors. I do, however, think that we can do our part in, if we can properly convey the message to the public that if they are breaking a law, our officers will respond, as our chief has said repeatedly, and by adding this painting further in, it will further define that and make that clear, and that should be at least our part in trying to resolve this. But going further than that, I don't think we'll solve it.
Motions for anything?
I would make a motion that we direct our village engineer to come up with a cost analysis for doing this proposed correction.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion for adopting, so voting in for Mr. Powell to come up with a cost of all the new markings. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Let me, if I could just, I believe the cost of that striping would be very minimal, like $200-300 type, even less than that. So if council felt that in that range, this would be an appropriate
So I'll amend my motion.
response.
I would like to give the administrator rights to move forward as long as it doesn't exceed $500.
Yeah.
I think that's smart. This has gone on way
Yep.
too long, you know?
Second.
Okay, amended motion, a second to that. We've had some discussion, any more discussion? Have a roll call, please.
Jeremini,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Claiborne. Yes. Kuznicki,
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
And if for any reason the cost does exceed $500, then we'll bring that.
Then, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be something that we would ask for different bids from.
Yeah.
C, council committee assignments, and new adopted policy by the ad hoc.
Council, after our last meeting, the subcommittee met for a second time. The discussion was brief. I mean, I think a lot of the issues have been hashed through at the meeting that we had back in May. But the recommendation from the subcommittee at this point in time is that every time a new council is seated, that is every 2 years, that all of the council committee assignments will be open for reappointment. A big point of discussion back in May was whether or not there would be term limits that would apply to any or all of the committees. And at this point, the subcommittee is recommending that there not be any term limits. Mr. Duffy, you're the chair of that committee. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add.
Nope, I'll make
Any of the other members?
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Giamini. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you. Thank you guys for taking that on. D, soil erosion sedimentation control program fees.
Council, I don't want to run through all the information that's contained in my memo. I guess just the initial comment that I would make is we're not talking about changing the amount that we charge for a soil erosion permit. That would stay the same. We currently charge $150. And then along with the charge for the permit itself, a property owner is required to post a bond in the amount of $300. And then for every time that a soil erosion inspection is done, there is a charge. That charge is currently $15 per inspection, and that $15 is taken out of the bond. And as soon as the soil erosion permit is closed out, that is, as soon as there's grass or turf that's established in the area where the earth moving had been done, the permit is closed out and the balance of the bond is returned to the homeowner. So, what we're talking about here is dealing more with increasing the $15 per inspection. As indicated in the memo, Eagle comes around and does an audit periodically of all the soil erosion programs of every municipality in the state. This was our year in the barrel. And actually, they were overall very, very pleased with the program, especially for a community as small as we are. There are some modifications that they had requested to our application, and in terms of the types and extent of documentation that we require an applicant to submit, and we've implemented those changes. In addition to that, the biggest problem they had, and they flagged it during the on-site meeting, the audit itself, was the fact that the individual that we've had doing our soil erosion inspections for the last several years, it's a former village employee, Jeff Rondo, but he left the village. He now works for the city of Birmingham in their building department. He is not actually a village employee. We've been paying him as an independent contractor. The way that Eagle interprets the State Environmental Protection Act, the individual who's responsible for the administration of a soil erosion program in a municipality needs to be a municipal employee, not an independent contractor. So, reached out to some other communities to see how they were dealing with the situation. We apparently were one of the first ones that were lucky enough to be subject to an audit when this issue was raised. But other communities were aware of the potential issue, and the way that the majority of them have dealt with the issue is really one of two things. Either if it's a bigger community, they're fortunate enough, they have enough employees on staff that they can have someone who they actually train on staff to be responsible for the program. We don't have that benefit. That's why we've been using a contractor all this time. The other option is, as opposed to having an actual employee doing it, a full-time employee, is to have a part-time employee doing it. So really, two parts to my recommendation on this issue. Number one is I would like to make Mr. Rondo a part-time village employee as opposed to an independent contractor. He's agreeable to that. he's checked with his employer in Birmingham, because that was one of the things I talked to him early about, that I didn't want to do anything in terms of what the village was going to do that would jeopardize his employment in Birmingham. And he's checked with his supervisor there, not a problem at all, as far as the city of Birmingham is concerned. So we would make him a village employee, part-time, as opposed to a contractor. Number two, at this point in time, again, we're charging $15 per inspection, which is low. And that's been the amount as long as I've been here working for the village, and I think it was the amount that was established back when Jeff first started doing inspections, which I believe was 9 or 10 years ago. Because he was doing the inspections for a period of time when he worked here. Then he left to go to Birmingham, continued to do them, but again, did them as a contractor, not an employee. So we're going to be incurring additional costs. Jennifer's going to have to be doing some work now, because we're going to have to be tracking Jeff's hours. We're going to be cutting him a payroll check every 2 weeks, as opposed to paying him on a monthly basis for the inspections that he's done. We're going to have to be holding out taxes. We're going to have to be holding out Social Security. Under recent changes to the state law, as a part-time employee, he is going to be eligible for some sick time. Whether or not he'll use it, I don't know, but we'll have to carry that on our books. Bottom line is, there are going to be additional administrative costs, and we're not even charging for any administrative costs as it is now. So what I'm proposing is to bump the fee up from $15 an inspection to $25 an inspection. Out of the 25, whereas Jeff is currently getting $15 an inspection, I'm proposing to bump that up to 21. Number one, I think he's due for an increase. He's been doing it for $15 an inspection for a number of years. I think it's only fair that we give him a little bit of a bump. And second, I think it probably is because of the fact that he's going to be a part-time employee now as opposed to a contract employee. I think that's probably going to take a little bit of money out of his pocket too. So a little bit of a bump would help make up for the fact that he is going to be to be taking a little bit of hit in his pocketbook too. And then the other $4 would go towards our administrative costs. We had conversation with Mr. McNutt about that yesterday. Mike's question was a good one: is the $4 really going to be enough to cover all of our administrative costs? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know, but it's more than we're collecting right now. We took a look at it, we talked about it in-house. We think it should cover our costs. If it turns out that we're wrong and we need to, then we can come back and we can ask to bump the fee up again. But I think going from 15 to 25 is a good start at this point. So those are my recommendations. Number one, I plan to make Mr. Rondo a village employee effective as of September 1. And then as of date, we'd be bumping up the permit fee, that is the inspection fee, from $15 an inspection to $25 an inspection. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
I'll make a motion that we hire Jeff Rondeau as a part-time employee at the rate of $21 an hour starting September 1.
$21
for inspection.
For inspection.
Yes.
For inspection.
The total fee would be
With the fee to increase to 25.
I was going to do two motions.
Okay.
Second.
So, motion by Duff, second by Newman to hire Mr. Rondeau as a part-time employee.
How many hours does he work now, do you know, roughly?
He normally does all of his inspections on Saturday morning, so maybe 3-4 hours,
Yeah.
depending
A week.
upon...
A week.
A week, yeah. Depending upon the number of open permits we have, the number of inspections, and then if he has to do any follow-up work, he contacts the contractors.
This doesn't make, he doesn't get more training, it doesn't make the soil inspection any better, it just costs people more
Yes.
because of regulation.
Yes.
Just want that clear.
Yep. And that was a point of discussion that I had with the auditor from Eagle. I said, you understand what, you're making it so much more difficult
Yeah.
for a smaller community like
Yeah.
the village to comply with the requirements of the act. And she said, I get it. She said that she could talk to her supervisor about it, but she didn't think it was going to do any good, and she thought if we weren't satisfied with that, we should have conversation with our state legislators about changing the act. So,
President Trump.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? So the first motion is to hire Mr. Rondo on a part-time basis at $21 an inspection, right? And the second, so we have a roll call, please.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Dowd?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes. Kuznicki?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
I make a motion that we increase our soil erosion and sediment control fee to $25 from $15.
A motion by Duff, second by Newman, to increase our inspection fee from 15 to 25. Any discussion? No? The roll call again, please.
Newman?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes. Kuznicki?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Dowd?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
thank you, Council.
E, the medical benefit plan contribution. Should be-
Council, this is a resolution or an issue that state law requires us to address every year before the start of our benefit year. As in the last couple of years, my recommendation is that the village opt out of the requirements under the act, which allows us to determine, independent of the state, as to the amount that our employees will contribute to their own health care.
Motion to opt out as presented.
Second?
A motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. Any discussion? We have roll call on that.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kuznicki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Dowd?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes.
F, topic for work session.
Motion to forgo.
We have a motion
Second?
by Duff, second by O'Brien. Discussion? All in favor?
I just had a quick question. I think at some point we should do a Davy tree review to talk about the different trees that we have to remove, trim in the village, what that cost looks like, what the plan is for the next couple of years, 5 years down the road. I don't know if that needs to happen this month, but at some point when we're going to be talking about next year's budget before we know it.
Yeah, and I've given Andy Stone the list of the high-risk trees that I had gotten from Davy when they do the audit, and he's going through right now and trying to identify which ones have come down and which ones are still left. So that can be part of that discussion, too.
That's something that, you know, when they'll have that review ready by?
No, he's been working on it.
Okay.
I can't say when.
Okay.
We had some more issues with the harvester this week, unfortunately. He's been busy with that, so
Okay. So when that's ready, then we can...
we can talk about scheduling a work session, yeah.
Any other discussion? We have a motion to forego the work session in a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now 13, pending business.
Mr. President, before we move into pending business, and we don't really have any other business for the work session, I'm happy not to have to see you on the 27th. At the same time, I would ask that you potentially keep that date open. As I indicated in the weekly update that I sent to you last Friday, I had some discussion with our building official, building inspector Tony Sorge, on Friday afternoon. I don't think there's any secret we've had some issues with our building program, really ever since Tim Brandt left. And talking with Tony on Friday, I think he and I reached an agreement, a mutual decision that it would be best if the village moved in a different direction in terms of its building inspection and building official services. So Tony has agreed to stay until we're able to find a suitable replacement, and I am working on that. We had that meeting on Friday, last Friday, or I'm sorry, a week ago Friday, and then last Monday, so 3 days after the meeting with Tony anyway, I contacted a couple firms that had previously provided us quotes to provide building official services, and when I asked them to update their quotes, and they are both working on those quotes. I had thought I might have those for tonight's meeting, but unfortunately I didn't get them. So as soon as I get those, I'd like to be able to figure out a time that we could hold a special meeting. Again, while Tony has agreed to stay until we have someone to take his spot, it's something I would rather move on sooner rather than later. I certainly don't want to have to wait until September to do it. So, again, as soon as I receive those quotes, then I'll reach out. We can try to talk about a date. We might be able to do it one day next week. I don't know. I don't anticipate a long meeting. I think it probably would be a one-issue meeting. That would be the only business that I would bring forward, would be a recommendation as to which firm to hire to do the inspection services for us. But as a fallback, again, if we're not going to actually have a work session on the 27th, if you could just mentally maybe keep that date open on your calendars. So, and again, I'll keep everybody posted as to where we stand. So.
Yes, now we're at pending business, Penny Lake Pump House water quality.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any additional information on the Penny Lake Pump House water quality issue. Again, that's another thing that Andy Stone has been working on. And as soon as I have some information that we're ready to bring forward, then we'll put that back onto the regular council agenda as a business item. The next pending business item is the Village Hall sound system. You'll recall that I had originally brought a recommendation forward to award the contract to a group out of Waterford. Council had asked me to obtain a total of 3 quotes for purposes of comparison. I've been working on that. I actually have finally obtained the 3rd quote. The 3rd contractor I met with, they got me the quote a week before last. I was able to sit down finally yesterday with Ken Milburn, our videographer from Merge Live, because to be perfectly honest, the 3 quotes might have well have been written in Chinese or Japanese. I mean, I couldn't make heads or tails out of them. So in going over them yesterday with Ken, we looked at a couple of things. Number one, to make sure that what was being proposed was going to be compatible with his equipment and the equipment that we're currently using, to the extent that it would be replaced. And then second, exactly what the recommendation was, because I had asked for alternative proposals from all the contractors in terms of wireless versus wired and things like that. And as it turns out, there's definitely some pluses and minuses to all those things. So Ken helped me understand a little bit better. And I circled back with one of the contractors today to get some additional information. He indicated that he would potentially have that for me by the end of the week. So that's a long explanation. Basically what I'm trying to say is that we have the 3 quotes now. We've been parsing through them and getting close to the point where I'll have a recommendation. And I don't see any reason why I shouldn't have that for you at our meeting in September.
$18,000. All right, 14, it's our second call to public. It's an opportunity for citizens to address council regarding village business. Is there a motion?
Motion open.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're open for second call.
I'm Tom Daly, 2377 Ventura. I understand what you guys just said about the area in front of my property. In February, you all committed to fixing the problem, to correcting the situation that was causing the problem that was out there, okay? What you guys just proposed has already been done, and it hasn't worked for the last 7 years. The problem is not an issue with car loading, as has been stated here, and the number of cars that this particular property has. It happens at times when there's 2 cars in the driveway and there's open space because people are parking out in the right-of-way in the shared property. I gave you guys dimensional data on this. And even if they park with their vehicle, even if a vehicle's parked in the driveway, nearest where it is, it's only 12 feet out from my property line. I can't back a compact car out of my driveway, down the center of my driveway, and out of my property without hitting a car that's sitting in that position. It's 2 feet at the corner. If I want to use the corner of my if I want to use the right edge, the south side of my property, I can't back out at all. I get 2 feet, okay? I can drive around these cars, but it's not going to correct the situation, okay? The issue is that driveway is in an area, and it's in a public right-of-way. That public right-of-way is for public use. It's not for private driveways. The fact's been made, and the statement's been made that, yeah, people should be able to put a driveway out through the road right-of-way. Correct, if you have room to do that. If you don't have room to do that, you can't put a driveway in front of another driveway. You're using that public property. You're using that public property for one person's benefit then, and not public use. This is the issue. The issue isn't all the other flack that's going on and what people are saying and that I'm being a bad person. The issue is there is really a problem there. The second part is, by moving that out, all it's doing is making people park farther out so that they don't go on their driveway. So it creates the other issue. You guys, if you looked at the pictures, there's hundreds of pictures I've sent, almost 1,000 pictures over the last 11 years since this has happened. 7 years ago, they put in that thing around there that said no parking. It's done absolutely nothing to correct the situation, and it hasn't stopped anybody from parking there. If I got to call the police, right, and it takes them 10 minutes to go out there, I still have to drive around them to go in and to go out of my driveway. It doesn't help anything. I do not have access to that public property. I don't understand how to communicate that to you, okay? I've sent you guys all the dimensional information. If you look at it, the only way to give both people that share the use of that property is to pave the entire portion of it so that we are only using what we're entitled to, and everybody else can use that property and get in and out of there as they were. It will also correct it by allowing people, even if they do hang over a little bit, they're only going to hang a couple of feet over, and that will keep people out from the middle of the road right away, which is where they're actually parking right now. But what you're proposing will do nothing to solve the situation. We'll be right back here. We're going to be right back here, right? And I'm going to be asking again for you guys to be solid with your commitment that you said you're going to correct the situation, right? The design is driving people to park farther out into the road right away, which is shared public property. It's dedicated as public property, okay? Today, what I talked to you guys about was the fact that every one of you has 20 to 25 feet of street front out in front of your driveways. Your driveways, each one of them, are wider than what my driveway is right now, okay? So you guys have 20 to 25 feet out on substantial areas. That's 20 to 25 feet that you can back out in any direction that you want. Right now, I have to make at least a 45-degree turn to get out of that area because that is not in front of me. That hammerhead was designed so that I had just as much as every one of you street front that I could be able to use to access and get in and out of my driveway. By doing what we're doing here, we're doing nothing more than what we have. It's going to go back in, and like I mentioned after it was suggested last time when you suggested it, Mr. Germini, it may tell people that area is not parkable, but that's not the problem. The problem is the driveway is 12 feet out from my driveway, and it's creating the problem. I don't understand why I can't have the same amount of area in front of my property and my driveway as what you guys all have. I don't understand. Why is there any difference between what you guys should have or anybody else in the village should have versus what I have? Can you help me understand that? It's designed for that with the hammerhead. If you pave the hammerhead, it's all right there. And the person at 2373 has the same amount. Thank you.
Dave Labor, 2335 Shaken. If you're interested, let me know. Every family can save a ton of money from that thing. I'm not selling anything, other than I found a great source to help people. This is, when I was chairman of the Water Management Board, the DNR chief and I became pretty good friends working with the stumps and the chemicals and so forth. And one of the questions I asked him was if he knew somebody that could recommend for me to bring to the council, to the Water Management Board, to speak to us about all the rules and everything else what we have to do on the lake. And he came, and interesting enough, the people, I invited all the parks, but some of the parks did not come. But the ones that came, look at what their parks look like. This is the ones that didn't come. Now, the ones that didn't come, we had the police department tell them nobody owns the bottom of the lake, so they could put anything they wanted there. We're making good progress on that. We found a case where somebody put it on, they had their boat on somebody else's repairing rights, he wouldn't move it. They went to court, and it really turned out bad for those people. The other thing I wanted to say is, I go through I do a lot of audits. They used to call me here that I request a lot of FOIAs to know what's going on in the village when I was a councilman, because they weren't allowed, the councilman, to ask for certain things unless all of them got it. Well, okay, I did it as a private citizen. I just got 2024 December results, and for instance, assault, we had 66% increase last year. That's pretty high, isn't it, for this village? Then we go down to burglaries. I can't pronounce it. Anyhow, that's 200% up. This is larceny, 40% up. FDOP, 25% up. We had dispatch for 911. We had 2023, we had 19, 2024, 14. So we don't have that many 911 calls. Then I looked at the accidents and on the streets in the village, and we had 40 of them. The majority of them are in Commerce. But one of the things I noticed was that there are streets in here that they're not in the village. Now, we have 3 police departments that monitor South Commerce: Wall Lake, Oakland County Sheriff's, and us. I'm going to do a FOIA between Oakland County and Wall Lake to find out how many they had for this area, just for curiosity. The other thing I wanted to say is, I asked for Memorial Day hours our police were when they were on the lake. I only saw one time that he went out there, and it got pretty bad in the afternoon, and they needed supervision because some people were going clockwise versus counterclockwise out there, and the other people were hollering, "You're going the wrong way." They were not from the lake. I've never seen those jet skis before. But what they like to do is go along my property to go to Penny Lake. And you got to remember, anybody coming out of Penny Lake are coming down to my property. So they're going counterclockwise. These people were going clockwise. I asked who worked those two people, or whoever worked, and apparently there's nothing to it. I didn't hear anything. But I see that you folks had two people assigned for them for 2024. Am I correct? Are you going to ask me? Answer me?
I have to see the documents you're talking about, Mr.
It's your
Lee.
document, not mine.
Well, the chief might be the best one to interpret this. but-
Pardon me?
The chief might be the best one to interpret this.
Well, he said they didn't have anybody. Why wouldn't we have more than one run on Memorial Day on this lake?
This tells me that between May 25th and September 20th
2024.
of 2024, there were a total of 38 shifts on the lake. As to what days they were Memorial Day and which ones weren't, I don't know. This record doesn't indicate that.
Pardon me?
This record doesn't indicate, this page doesn't indicate which officers were on the lake on,
Who was on the lake on Memorial Day? That's what I was asking for. On the FOIA.
and you were provided with copies of the only records that we have. And that's what the purpose of FOIA is, for the production of documents.
So in other words, we didn't plan anybody to be on the lake Memorial Day. You gotta plan people.
Can I see?
You plan your police officers to be out in the street to check the houses and so forth.
Steve Grunwald worked 6 hours here, 8 hours here, 11 hours here, 12, on these days.
Yeah, but is this May?
Sunday the 24th, let's see,
Saturday the 24th.
Saturday the 24th.
This is for 2024. This is for 2024.
Were you asking for records from 2024?
I asked for 2024 and 2025. I wanted to compare how many hours were used 2024 and 2025 to see how many people we had on the lake. Because I only saw one time that he came and left.
If this is May,
Well, and again, Mr. Laybourne, as I indicated, when I responded to your FOIA request, the timesheets would indicate the amount of time that the Marine officers were working those particular days.
But I don't know which.
We don't have any record as to how much time the individual officers spent on the lake on either of those Memorial Days. Those are not a record there is not a record that exists. of the
You're
amount of
telling me
time that
we
they-
only had
Can I
one-
finish, please?
Yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead.
finish? Thank you. We do not have a record of the amount of time that any given Marine officer was on the lake in either 24 or 25 on Memorial Day. I can tell you the
Not
number.
the way they were on the
I
lake.
can tell you the number of hours that they worked, but I cannot tell you the number of hours that they were on the lake.
And like I told you, I only saw him once, and I was almost all day down there in my patio, because we were reading books and so forth. And he came down once, and that was it. And that afternoon, around 3:30, there was two jet skis. One guy was going about 55 miles per hour. It looked like he was gonna lose it. There's another pontoon, almost thought they were gonna go right on the pontoon. I'm telling you guys, you're not managing that lake out there. I'm unfortunately right in the middle of the whole lake.
Did you want this back, Mr. Laborn?
Now you can have it.
Thank you.
Con Bailey, 2377 Ventura. When I sat down, I was hoping somebody was going to answer the question. In fact, I was hoping that each of the council people were going to answer the question as to why the property that I own doesn't have the same ability of having street front out in front of it as what each of your properties has. I realize, again, it's a different situation, it's a different geometry, but the right-of-way provides for 25-plus feet out in front of my driveway and in front of my property, just like yours does. And I don't understand why somebody can't answer me why it can be provided for all the other people in the village and why it can't be provided for the property I own. It's not going to be my property forever. This isn't a personal issue. This is a public property issue. It's a public usage issue, and I'd like to know why nobody will respond and give me answers as to what I'm asking. I understand you guys have proposed something, and I can appreciate that, but it's not going to solve the problem, so I want to understand why my property can't have the same thing as what all of your properties have and all the rest of the village has. Thank you. Can you please answer?
Hello, my name is William Berndorf, 264 Angola Street, and I've been listening to what's been happening on Ventura for a long time now. And it's been like 8 years, and I'm really surprised that it's taken so long to at least get a summation, get this thing settled, one way or the other. And I listened to Mr. Daly and all of the things that he brings to this council to review based on his concerns, and yet it just keeps dragging along. And when I was a businessman for 40 years, and I used to try to move things through, get things going, get to the next stop, because things add up. And when I come to the village meetings, I see there's a long list of things that don't get solved right away. And to be successful, I believe you have to move things along. And this is one of those issues that should move along, one way or the other. Bring some closure to it. And he's brought you so much information. I know you're looking at it, but there's no results. And you guys should come up with something now or sooner than later. And I've sat in these council meetings, and Mr. Daly asks a lot of questions, but nobody ever answers. No, nobody. It's just like we are now, sitting quietly, no answers. I just wanted to bring that to your attention, my thoughts about things. Thank you.
Motion to close?
Motion to close, second call.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, second call's closed. Council liaison reports. Parks and Rec.
Been another busy month. The survey was completed for the Park Master Plan, and we have the results from that, and we're still reviewing those. Farmers Market's been going on. Had a Tuesdays in the Park as well yesterday. Came a little close with the weather. Got a little antsy there for about a half an hour. A couple of nasty gusts of wind, but overall we survived. Thunder was all we heard. We never got anything closer, no rain. So everything went well there. The previous Tuesdays in the Park in July, we were very fortunate to have our village police out with every vehicle they've got, which was pretty awesome. The kids had a great time checking them out, including the new Silverado. We were joined by Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union as well. And they were out there handing out popsicles with the kids and everything. And I'd like to thank our officers and Chief Sovic for coming out and being a part of that. Great day. We just had our garage sale completed this past weekend, and that seemed to go pretty well for a lot of folks. We just completed the fishing contest on Saturday. Interestingly, I had quite a few more pike come in this year than previous years, but overall went pretty well. I got spined a few times too many, but other than that, I think everybody else was pretty happy. Corn roast planning is ongoing. We had a corn roast planning session on Monday, and things are going well there. And we just had a blood drive on Monday as well. We had our best results since December, so that was really nice to see. And corn roast is coming up on September 6th, and so be ready.
Zoning board.
Yep, we had one case. That's about it.
Water management board.
It was a beautiful evening on that day. We covered a couple of discussions too about our boat count. Boat count's gonna be done this month too, to see the trend. Just as last year, there were 483 boats counted on the lake, which was down from the previous year of 500, so it is trending down. There's less vessels out there. We did conduct a bird count back in June. That was reported to the board. We counted 103 geese, 184 ducks, 6 swans, 2 cranes, and 2 blue heron. So if you compare it to the year before, the previous year, it was 60 geese, 234 ducks, 6 swans, and 2 blue herons. So we're seeing a few more geese and a few more ducks this year, even with egg destruction. We didn't do the fish stocking in 2024, but we have a goal to have our fish stocking set up 2025, and that has to be done by September, so we can get them in the lake. But maybe that is why we're actually seeing some pike and everything during the fishing. A little different tactic to take towards it. We're still revisiting the equal harvester conversation too. Seeing if it is going to be allowed in Michigan following Eagle and everything. Let's make sure it doesn't actually disturb the bottom of the lake by pulling the weeds. So we're just trying to cross our T's and dot our I's before that makes it to council. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? How do you count birds? How do you know?
They get on a boat, and it's always at the same time of the year. They go around too, and they drive around the lake early in the morning.
How do you know you're not recounting the same birds? I mean, I'm curious. I don't mean to be silly.
Yeah, they do it in one go. So whoever volunteers for it, they take the boat out early in the morning, like 8 o'clock when it's still nice and calm and smooth. They drive the whole entire perimeter of the lake, count birds.
That's the only thing you can do.
Because it seems, how many geese did you say?
So this geese to count 103, right? Yeah, 103 creek.
I think, yeah, because some days you see a lot, and other days you don't see any. And I've seen a lot, I've seen some days there's a lot of swans, and then other days there aren't.
We try to do it consistently around the same June time, just so it's like the same capture, so they're not, no migration or something like that. But capturing the information is kind of also to see if the egg and nest destruction program is effective or not. So it's kind of one of those things we're measuring just to kind of have the data available.
I do actually have a point and a question. Has the water board seen the latest study that came out of I believe it was a university in Minnesota about the wakeboard boats and the ecological damage that's caused by them?
I remember there's something that was they're talking about Lansing about a year ago. I don't recall how far
I believe it was the University of Minnesota that they just published the report.
Yeah, they started talking about how, like, I think it's if a boat's over a certain length, it has ballast tanks in it, but on smaller inland lakes too, they don't have ballast, so they're always like on a full wake draft. So they're getting those big rollers. That kind of went with also the shoreline and the seawall presentation we had a few months back, how to mitigate some of that, but it's, the wakeboard boats do potentially cause more, and it looks like they actually do make damage. We did discuss it, we didn't go fully in depth into it yet. That's kind of something that'll probably come more from the Lansing side, and we'll have to work our way back up from that. Yeah, we want to put it in a packet or something and make it a key point. I'm sure we can slide it in. We can find that information just for a discussion point.
Yeah, to say, it was a big news article that came out, I think, last week.
I think there was information in the last edition of the Lakes and Streams monthly publication too. So, yeah, we can track some of it down and see if we can put it in if we can find it, we could have it at the table for the water board next week.
Yes, we can do that. At least we have a discussion before the public. Thank you.
Any other questions for water?
That's it.
Fine.
No meeting.
Chief?
Okay, so we're in the process of putting together our Facebook page. We've kind of got some materials on there, Wolverine Lake Police. Having someone take a look at it who's a lot more well-versed in that than I am before we publish it, so you should be seeing that in the next couple of weeks. I'll be heading to the businesses to establish some communication as far as like establishing some type of emergency contact list, like the owner's name, the phone numbers, next of contacts, in case something goes wrong with the business, alarm companies, just certain things about businesses, and so we're going to start with that. Then eventually we'd like to put something out to on the city website and our Facebook page and the Wolverine Lake Village Facebook page, as far as like some of the folks that are maybe a little bit older or are not in the area very much, medical questionnaires, relatives, in case we can't get a hold of you, do we contact your son, your brother, your business, alarms, any type of like medical information that we should know about you, so we can share that with the fire department as well. So just kind of give us a better idea of who we're dealing with, and if we can't get a hold of somebody for whatever reason, we can go to the next down the contact list, and hopefully for us that will be a quicker response if we need to, just a better way to communicate with our citizens. And so as far as the lake patrol goes, we've been out there quite a bit. I think right now we have as many citations issued right now that we did all of last year, and so getting spread out by both the officers, I think they're doing a really good job. And so they're not out there every single minute of their 12-hour shifts, but they're hitting, they're getting a lot more of the, high speed after hours and creating wake, and so we're trying to slow that down, but I think they're doing a pretty good job this year so far. So that's all I have for you, Mr. President.
I want to make a comment, if I could.
Sure.
Just a quick question. If somebody does see an issue on the lake, they can call in.
Absolutely.
And that will get a response.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
September 2nd will be the last day to pay taxes without penalty. Normally it would fall on August 30th, but that falls on a weekend, so we extended it to after Labor Day, so it's Tuesday, September 2nd. And if anyone knows of any seniors that cannot pay their tax bill, maybe quite on time or in full, have them reach out to us. We definitely accept partial payments on taxes, and we can give them where they need to go to place a deferment if they're a senior deferred or have a reason to be deferred, and that way they don't have to pay interest or penalty. And other than that, I think that's it for our department. It's just been steady Eddie, so.
Thank you. A couple, hopefully, quick points. You'll recall at last month's meeting, Brett Quiddequit, the municipal service manager for Priority Waste, was here at the meeting, and he indicated during the meeting that staff at the village would be provided access to the Priority Waste customer portal so we could log complaints directly, rather than having to go through an employee at Priority to make the complaints. We went through a brief orientation on Friday, August 1st, and yesterday we did get the email with the link, so we do have access to Priority's customer service portal now. In fact, we received word late yesterday afternoon, and then again this morning, that there was an entire street in the village that was missed with trash pickup this week. So I had the pleasure of being the first one to log a complaint on the Priority Service portal this morning. So that is up and running. Related point, I'm still not sure that it's actually going to come to pass, but during the orientation, the introduction to the portal, the IT manager for Priority indicated to us that in roughly a month's time, the portal was going to be opened up to all of Priority's customers. I mentioned that in a follow-up conversation with Mr. Quidquid, and that was news to him. So I'm not sure if they're just not all on the same page at Priority or not, or whether the IT manager had some bad information. But the bottom line is, we have access to the portal right now, and I'll continue to keep everybody posted as to whether or not our residents are going to have access or not.
So should residents now contact the village instead of contacting Priority if they have an issue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, if they can contact the front, both Tabitha Page and also myself, we all have access to the portal. So whoever they speak with, we can log directly into the system and log the complaint just as if they spoke with a Priority employee who would then be logging into the system the same way that we are.
Can we send out an email letting folks know
Yes.
that that's the new procedure?
Yeah.
It may not result in anything better, but it's the new procedure.
Yeah, well, now that we have access.
At least you guys will respond and answer the phone.
Second, really, probably more for the benefit of the public than council, because I've been keeping you updated really for the last 6 weeks regarding the Spring Lake Heights beach closure due to elevated E. coli levels. Again, for the benefit of the public, it's the Oakland County Health Division that comes out and does testing during the summer. And actually, they're testing Spring Lake Heights Beach, but they're also testing over at Banner Beach too. But Spring Lake Heights Beach has been the problem this year. And since just before the 4th of July, the county has noted the high E. coli levels. And there's two calculations, one test, but two calculations that the health department runs based upon the water sampling they do. One is the daily level, and there is a standard as to the amount of contamination that's allowed. But then in addition to the daily testing, they also do a 30-day, it's not really an averaging, but I'm just going to call it an averaging for simplicity's sake. It's a 30-day mean that they calculate. It's a different level for the 30-day mean. And when they run their test, if either or both of the tests are above the allowed level, the beach is closed. And the county will come out and they hang a sign on the beach saying that swimming is not allowed. So, as I indicated before, the beach has been closed now for 6 weeks. It was closed again today. They did more sampling today. They'll be doing more testing on the samples tomorrow. The problem currently is not with the daily levels. The daily levels are acceptable now, but it's the 30-day figure that's the problem, although the 30-day is trending down now. And if the trend continues within the next couple days, maybe possibly the beach will be open again. We will let you guys know, we will let the public know as soon as we know that the beach has been opened back up again. So the other thing I would add is that they would have done it anyway, but I'd like to think that I kind of encouraged them to do that. After about 10 days or 2 weeks of closure, the county did some additional testing over on the beach, so that some source tracing to see if in fact there was any indication that the E. coli was associated with human waste as opposed to bird and animal waste, which are the normal causes. And I mean, I suppose it's a good thing, but the source tracing that the county did indicated that there were no traces of any kind of human waste in any of the sampling. So the reason that we would ask that, because if there were, then that would indicate that there probably is a leaking septic field over there. But there's no indication of that. It apparently is a bird and animal problem. And there are ways that the homeowners association can try to deal with that. And my understanding is that the staff at the county has been in contact with the head of the homeowners association over there and has made suggestions as to things they can do to try to eliminate or reduce the geese problem over there and hopefully get the beach open back up sooner rather than later. So, Just a general comment for all of our residents, before we get together for a regularly scheduled meeting again. We've got Labor Day coming up on September 1st. We've got the corn roast, as was mentioned, which will be on Saturday, September 6th. But also a reminder that Walled Lake schools are opening back up on Monday, the 25th. So less than 2 weeks away. So there was a school bus coming through our neighborhood yesterday. Looked like they got a new driver, and he's learning the route. But again, just a reminder to the public that school is going to be opening back up in the mornings, in the afternoons. Take your time, slow down, keep your eyes open. We want it to be a safe Labor Day for everybody. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'll start with Mark.
So I'd like to spin back real quick to that letter that we received regarding Basso and the rocks there, and get some clarification, because this isn't the first time I've had somebody complain to me about it. Or I've heard some complaints, especially with this construction that's been going on over there. And I know it's in other areas in the village too, with people putting some things in the right of way, creating obstruction. And just, what is it that we can do? Is it a longer term process, or is it something that we can be more proactive? And I don't know if this is more of a police issue, or is it more of an ordinance issue? And
Well, really, it's an ordinance issue because the right-of-the-way is ours to manage and maintain. So, and if you recall, there were complaints, at least, we received complaints at the Village Hall when those rocks were first placed, probably a couple of years ago, something like that now. And the problem, and what I indicated at that time, and it is still the case, as you've indicated, this is a bigger issue. This isn't just a question of the rocks that are along the right-of-way in front of one home over on Wabasso. There are rocks or substantial, and I mean substantial, brick and stone mailboxes located within the right-of-way throughout the village. I was somewhere yesterday and I saw, I don't remember which street it was on, but by a mailbox, a rock that was about as big as that file cabinet in the right-of-way, probably to keep snowplows and snows from hitting it, I don't know. But, so it's a bigger issue, and while we've had complaints about the property on Wabasso, I think we have to take a look at the bigger issue rather than just deal with Wabasso. So, and I recognize that it's something that's been on my plate now for a while. But it's a question of going around and identifying, I think, all of the areas in the village where there are encroachments in the right-of-way, much as a few years ago when council went through the exercise with the road endings and identified where there were things in the road endings that shouldn't be, and then made a determination as to which things should be authorized or licensed by way of a formal agreement and which things should be removed. I think that's what we're going to need to do with the right-of-way encroachments as well. I would say, as far as Wabasso is concerned, the police department has really been doing a very good job keeping an eye on that. I think, as I understand, I think most of the construction over there is completed now, so we won't have the issues with contractors' vehicles and things like that. The police department has been doing a very good job making sure that if there are vehicles that are parked along the street, they're as far off the roadway as they possibly can, so the roadway is not blocked, and in particular, so emergency vehicles would be able to get through if they needed to.
Has anybody noticed, the police noticed he's got these super high-tech cameras that are shooting down straight, one on the peak of his house, going west on Wabasso, and the other one is on his fence with a blue ring around it, going east on Wabasso towards the intersection?
Yeah, we've noticed.
What's that all about?
Personal preference.
Okay. Just seems odd, it looks awfully high-tech.
Yeah, one of the neighbors had contacted us about it.
Yeah.
thank you, yeah.
If that answers your question.
Right, yeah, at some point, it seems like something we need to address, and then especially as we're getting closer to school, as you mentioned, having a bus try to drive through there, if there's a lot of vehicles in the way, that could create a lot of danger, especially because it is so close to the intersection at home. So I understand we can't just do it immediately, but obviously this keeps on coming up. And that as a group, we do probably need to address it in a more formal fashion.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's something that we're going to have to address at this table.
Right.
Initially, and then after that, it'll become an issue for code enforcement and then the police department.
Fair enough.
Do you need people to go around and, as a group, to identify? What's the next step?
Well, that would be, that would be the process. It would basically be to canvass the village and identify properties where there were items within the public right-of-way, yes.
Those are tape measure.
That I'm offering to be of assistance if you need somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, so. But other than that, for my comments, sorry about that. Section, yes, thank you. Just again, a reminder, the corn roast, September 6th, 12 to 5. Anybody interested in volunteering, please contact us, and we'd love to have you help out. There will be a lot of great stuff, pony rides, petting zoo, 2XL will be playing, brats, hot dogs, roasted corn, of course, plenty of vendors, the kids' tent, cornhole tournament will be going on. Get entered for that. Yeah, it should be a great day.
Mark, speaking about the corn roast and the cornhole tournament, when Commerce Township had borrowed our cornhole boards for the Bicentennial Festival, one of the bags had split. Do you know off the top of your head if they have replaced that bag
I
yet or
have
not?
no idea. I can check with Linda.
All right, I'll follow up with Emily England over at the township, so we're not scrambling.
Sure,
So,
thank you.
Just everybody be safe, have a great holiday. I would comment in terms of this, because I drive down this road pretty much every day, multiple times, and I would say that it's very rare to actually see people pulled off along the side of the street. Usually they just block the whole street.
Put a couple cones up.
Yeah, and if you go by them slow and say something, they get usually pretty nasty with you. Their contractors are typically, go bleep yourself, stuff like that, so. As I say, it's usually that they just block off the entire one lane of traffic, so.
Just want to give best wishes for a speedy recovery to Jennifer, and congrats again to Jessica and Brian on their years of service with the village. And then just best wishes to everybody until we'll see you again.
Yeah, everyone have a great Labor Day. We'll see you guys soon, and congratulations, Officer Keller and Officer Dennis, on their service. It's much appreciated.
Next Friday, August 22nd, Onwards and Upwards is hosting our second annual Back to School Barge Bash. This event is being held at Mallow Beach from 4 to 7. It's a free event for the community. We are collecting Clorox wipes, Kleenex, Ziploc bags, socks to support the efforts of Lakes Area Youth Assistance. So join us for an afternoon of swimming and food and games. Tickets for Leia's Taste of the Lakes fundraiser being held at Edgewood Country Club on Tuesday, October 7th from 5 to 8 are available at the Village Hall or online. Congratulations to our officers, Keller and Dennis, on their dedicated service, and wishing all of our Weld Lake students and teachers a great first day back.
Yeah. Quick summer, huh? I also want to congratulate Jessica and Brian. It says a lot, and it's noted. I've also noted too, I made this comment before, but I think we need a new police board upstairs. I mean, he still has John Ellsworth on there as our police chief, a picture of John. And can we update that with all the pictures, the board with the pictures of the police upstairs? I think it'd be nice to have Chris on there, and I think there could be some other changes as well.
I think the chief has money in his budget for that, so yeah.
You run a tight ship.
I don't know how to really go about saying this, but I feel Tom Daly's frustration. And I think that this has gone on a long time. And hopefully what we decided tonight is the best thing that we can do for him. Maybe we need to all be out there in person, physically going through, seeing what a car is or what a truck is and what some of his issues are. Because I don't understand this 25 feet thing that he's talking about. Is he talking about his driveway being 25 feet wide? Is he talking about 25 feet into the road? I don't understand what he's talking about there at all. And generally, he makes a lot of sense compared to some of the other people that raise questions on that, like this little handout. I had no idea what he was talking, no. The other one, for the cost. Yeah, what was that? You know? I want to be responsible. I want to do what's right. I think we need to respond, you know, because we're here for the people of the village. And maybe some of the things he's asking for, we can't do, but can we at least respond and say, we can't do this because it costs X amount of money? We can't do this because of this law? Or I think we need to give him a better explanation. I don't know how else to say it. And I feel his frustration, that's all. And, you know, maybe it's something that, you know, we could say, hey, you know, maybe you should redesign your driveway. I know he doesn't want to hear that, but I mean, I think that we should, I don't know, I just think we could do better. And, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Just big thank you to Officers Dennis and Keller for their service, very much so, and get well to Jennifer. Want her back soon. And you'll be safe on safe Labor Day. That's me. A motion?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Duff to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? Adjourned.
Yeah.